We're in.
Is it recording?
We're in, big guy. We're in.
So, Robin, how you doing, mate?
Aye, doing all right. Busy. Getting busier. Roads are getting busier. Yeah.
Here we are again at another podcast. Here we are again. Yeah, it's recording now, I'm sure. Here we are again, another podcast, another Poolcast podcast. I've just got to remind everyone that we're sponsored by Test All Water, where you can get all your different photometers, comparators, reagents, and various other things, pool chemicals. And if you use the link, which I think is testallwater.co.uk/poolcast, you'll be able to get your exclusive discounts. So, Robin, work is picking up, isn't it? It's getting good.
Do you know what? I even had a flight last week, didn't I?
Here we go.
Fly to Belfast and back. Well, I eventually got a flight to Belfast. My original one was cancelled unknowingly to me, but the numpties at Aer Lingus they cancelled my flight and rescheduled it to arrive after my return flight back. And how inconvenient is that? But I got there. I got across there. It was great to get some work in for the NHS over in Belfast at a wee hydrotherapy pool. So, yeah, delighted. Yeah, things are picking up. Got a fair bit in the diary. A lot of online stuff, and you and I will touch on that later on, Ian.
Yeah.
So I've got online training coming up. I've even got, I think I mentioned that in the last podcast, I've got some compliance work in the form of a hair entrapment test that I'm going to carry out. I'm going to try and video that, albeit that I will have budgie smugglers on, so not so sure if it's wise to present it on the YouTube channel, but we will see at the time. We'll see how that goes, and then that could be quite interesting. What about yourself, Ian?
Well, do you know what? Last week I had some face-to-face training at the university up in the sort of Yorkshire, which was really nice just to see the whites of their eyes again. So that was quite nice. It was a really old system as well, Robin. It was an old 1960s system with horizontal filters and proper engineering. You know, undercroft, you were well below the pool surface. It was really nice. Friday I was back on testing coronavirus and pool water again with Water Babies, with Alex Blackwell from Water Babies. So we're getting ever so close to the end of that project, hopefully. And Robin's mentioned he's doing a bit of online training. Well, for any of the listeners here, I'm the one that's having to educate them on how to do half this stuff.
Indeed.
I've been training the trainer a little bit on some small occasions. And how do you do this? How do you do that? But yesterday, we were the ones having been trained, so to speak, at the PWTAG seminar.
Yeah, it was nice to be on the other side of the coin, wasn't it?
It was.
About learning and development, so to speak. Albeit that we can judge ourselves whether we got lots of learning and development out of it. You always get nuggets from these things, Ian, don't you? There's always nuggets, and there was a couple of nuggets that we got yesterday. Absolutely. I'll always subscribe to the PWTAG events, whether they're online or in face-to-face. It's something I always look forward to. You always have a bit of excitement, don't you? Excitement about it.
Well supported. I think it was 160 online attendees, so to speak.
That's nearly as popular as our YouTube channel, you know?
Well, we're sort of usually hitting the dizzy heights of around about 200 now. So, with our podcasting and stuff. So, obviously our name's getting out there and we're getting even more popular. The rock stars of swimming pools.
I don't know about that, but
Well, I haven't got the hair. That's why I can't do it.
Maybe the Muppets rock stars, but it was great. It was great to not have the pressure of the delivering and being on the other side of it and receiving some information. Yeah, there was a couple of good speakers. I don't know if they're going to repeat it, if you can access it retrospectively. But I enjoyed the Austrian speaker. I spoke to you about that, Ian.
She was fantastic.
Yeah.
For me, there was three speakers in particular which really stood out for me. There was the lady from Austria you mentioned. I think was it Regina Sommer?
Yeah,
was
Regina
called.
Summer.
And
Yeah.
there was the Dutch speaker, which
Yeah.
was Martens. I can't remember his surname now. Doing the guys
Oh,
just justice there.
I can't remember.
He was
No.
excellent. And then the third one I really liked was the lady from Germany. Was it Christina Holler? I think she was called.
Yeah. Do you know what I liked was the simplicity. They were always very, very succinct, very straight to the point, and the Austrian. Well, it's regulations. I was going to say standards, but it's regulations. I like that, and it was all black and white stuff. I mean, it was I don't know if you noticed, Ian, but it's a legal requirement for them to do staining, as they call it, in the pool. It's a dye test. It's a dye test.
It was funny because because at the time, the moment they mentioned staining, right, I was off on a tangent at the time because I was trying to do work and watch the conference at the same time. I mean, they said staining. Initially, I thought manganese staining.
Aye.
And I was thinking, it's mandatory to do rust staining. Surely you can just and for the first few minutes, I had a bit of doubt in my head, and I was like, staining. And then when they started talking about more on the slides, I went, they mean a dye test. Which, do you know, for me, the thing was, and embarrassing not for me, but I think embarrassing for the UK, is the three better speakers were in countries that legislate for pool water.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Well, saying that, we do a disservice to Tom Devon because Tom's content was very good.
Oh, no, it was excellent.
Yeah, and I think probably because you and I have seen it before, that it wasn't at the top of the echelons in terms of what gave us the wow factor on the day, because we've seen it. But the content is very good. And I thought some of his slides on the dye testing and the hydraulics and the filtration were excellent. But again, you're spot on, Ian. Listen, we play at this, don't we? We dilly-dally, play it, at it. They've got it, black and white. You either do it or you don't. Yeah, and if you don't do it, you're breaking the law. It's simple. It'd be so much easier for the industry if it was regulated. But listen, there's no chance of that happening. Politically, I can't. No. The governments that have been in charge over the last 20 years have spent most of their time deregulating industries, not regulating them. So that's not really going to change.
When we're talking about the Austrian speaker, and she was going through, and legally we've got a test for this, and we were going, no, we don't do that.
No,
we've got a test for this. No, we don't do that. And this one, no. Not that one either. What about this? No, not that one. And do you know, part of me, Robin, and this is the embarrassing thing, we've had a struggle in the UK since PWTAG issued the new guidance on pH and free chlorine levels to get pools to comply with that. The backlash and argument that they've been having over, my balanced water. You know, no, forget your balanced water. No, we've spoken about this loads of times, but and they're panicking about different levels. And, you know, and the Austrians were coming back yesterday and saying our pH range allowed in a chlorinated swimming pool, 6.6 to 7.4. And I was like...
6.5, well, minimum 6.5. But I mean, that's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And listen, they were talking, it was like, see, when they were describing it, it was all so matter of fact. Yeah, we test for chlorates. That's a legal requirement. Turbidity, legal requirement. Sulfates, legal requirement. Yeah, and the thing is, their levels are so minimal that you're thinking, you don't even need to test for them. We're the ones that need to test for it because we know that our levels are going to be higher than they should be. You know.
Robin, while we're talking about chlorates yesterday, I did a quick bit of Googling just to see about chlorates testing, because obviously you can't test them on site. You got to send it off and all the rest of it. I found a supplier that was doing it for 75 quid plus VAT.
Brilliant.
And the chlorates testing. But to be fair, I mean, they were doing it for the food manufacturing industry, but the principle of how they were doing it for the water and the food manufacturing industry, I thought probably applied to us as well. And it's so funny because someone contacted me after the conference and said about chlorate testing and said, we do chlorides. Is that what they meant? I was, no. Chlorates. I said, it's completely different. And what was interesting was, I think it was one of the presentations by Steve Carter was talking about degradation of sodium hypochlorite and the chlorate values coming up. And they were saying about the World Health Organization, you know, testing for up to 3 milligrams per litre is sort of the allowed in swimming pool water. And saying, well, after the first lockdown, we had swimming pools that had chlorate levels as high as 20 to 30 milligrams per litre because our hypo was so old and we just started using it. It's amazing.
It's seen as carcinogenic as well, Ian. That's the thing. It falls into that bracket. How poisonous it is another question. I'm not sure, because I did a wee bit of digging as well. Ian, I don't know if you remember, Stephen Gallagher did a presentation at one of the seminars that I organised with Mike Schuff, and Stephen was discussing chlorate levels, and I'll hands up, I'd rarely looked into it. I knew about it because I knew some of my clients were asking or they get chlorates tested through Scottish Water, but you have to go to one of the big utilities to be able to get it done. And so I looked into it, and there's papers on it. There's plenty of papers. They're very kind of scientific, technical papers that are written by students or doing PhDs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of the things in Europe that is one of the hot topics. And in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Denmark, there's legal requirements for these chlorates, so they have to test it. You know, and because it falls into the carcinogenic category. So, you know, it's listen, as you say, we can't get folk to get their pH right in the earth pools at times, or getting a coagulant dosed correctly, you know, it's hard enough, let alone get folk testing for sulfates. Turbidity that should be a must, in all honesty. And I keep saying to folk, you don't need to spend 500 quid on a turbidity meter, right? Just get your monthly bacteriological sampling to do turbidity. Now, if the first 3 tests that you get back, I mean, it's a bit, you'll get it done for a £5, right? Maybe I'm doing a disservice there. It might be a tenner, right? Say it's a tenner, right? To get a turbidity test done. 3 months, if your level's well below the 0.5, right? Then go to every 6 months for your turbidity. Do you know what I mean? But find out first, how are we doing? It's an indication of poor performance with filtration, poor coagulation. It tells you a whole host of things. So it was pleasing yesterday to listen to what I would suggest is, you know, well, experts from other countries. I think we are so lucky we have PWTAG, because in Germany and Austria and that, they don't have a PWTAG because they have regulations. So they don't need somebody to be coercing them and taking their hand and showing them things. So we are lucky in that sense that we have PWTAG, and it's brilliant. But it would be great to have both, wouldn't it? PWTAG and regulations. That would be the utopia, wouldn't it?
And do you know what? So I mean, that was one of the hot topics yesterday. But the one that I really loved was the Dutch guy. Yeah. And for anyone who missed it, this Dutch gentleman whose name it was Martins and his surname I forget. He had went to crowdfunding, first of all. I mean, he told us this at the end of his presentation, but I thought this was quite good. Went to crowdfunding, and what he was doing is measuring aerosols in swimming pool environments. Yeah. So not directly measuring coronavirus, but measuring aerosols that potentially would hold things such as that, as well as Legionella and other bacteriums as well. And obviously, well, viruses like coronavirus. And he had adjusted the refresh rate and the fan speeds and shown the levels of moisture which are in the air, which anyone hadn't seen. And he hadn't just done it once. This guy, what was it? He'd done it over water polo, lane swimming, lessons, the whole 9 yards. It sort of, you know, as in who's breathing out the most and who's expiring air the most. And he had some really detailed photos of all the equipment he'd used on poolside during the sessions, and it was a great presentation. And I thought it was interesting, the fact that he'd managed to show that the fan speed doesn't necessarily need to be 100% fresh air.
He did say that, yeah. He did say and it was really, really important for certain swimming pools to use recycled air to actually entice the customer and the bather to come back, because otherwise there was no hope of them getting a comfortable experience. The gentleman's name is Martin Keuten.
That's it.
Keuten, I think. cutin. I've just looked back on some notes that I took yesterday. It's just for the listeners. Martin, Marten, cutin, Keuten. Well, unless I've spelt it wrong. But if you do a wee bit of research, stick it in, you'll probably find some stuff and interesting information about the gentleman. And he was also one of these kind of laid-back Dutch guys as well, wasn't he? With the longer hair and, he looked...
What are you trying to say, Robin?
He'd obviously had a wee bit of chocolate cake at lunchtime and that as well. He was just dead relaxed and it was superb. I quite enjoy listening to him. I was thinking...
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? I know it's an outside chance, but maybe we should try and tap him up to come on this.
Oh, that would be superb. Definitely. I bet he's into the football as well, I bet, so
Robin, we're not making this the live broadcast from Amsterdam or anything like that.
Listen, see, come September, October, when there's wee travel corridors opening up by other countries, we are going to do a live broadcast from Germany when just to go over the DIN standards, and we'll find a nice 50-meter pool in Dusseldorf. And obviously we'll need to stay for a couple of nights just to, do a wee bit of research in that, Yes,
yeah, definitely. I'll be up for that. Not in our luck, the only travel corridor will probably be down to bloody Dumfries to watch Queen of the South or something stupid like that.
Well, listen, the guy, Jason Leach, the clinical director in Scotland, comes on to a podcast on a Saturday. It's a football podcast. And he seems to be quite relaxed, and the two guys, Stuart Cosgrove and Tam Cowan, I don't know if you know them, they do Off the Ball. It's on Radio Scotland as a podcast, and it's a radio show. And the guy, Jason Leach, is obviously a lot more relaxed, and he's willing to let a bit more go as opposed to in these, coronavirus meetings and stuff like that and stuff on the telly. And he did say he actually committed. Maybe he was on the drink or something, I don't know. But he actually said, because they were badgering him, any chance we could go and see a football team abroad if we get into Europe, blah, blah, blah. Because that was at the time we were told there's going to be no international travel at all. And he said, right, guys, listen, the job, this is the crack. If you get below 50 per 100,000 of an infection rate, you're going to get to see your football team. See if you get below 20, and there's other countries with an infection rate less than 20 per 100,000. We'll get a corridor. We'll manage to get a corridor where you can go. I was straight onto that Sky Scanner, booking flights. There we go. It's definitely got to be on for September, October, or October, November. A wee trip over to somewhere, anywhere. So, and we'll put it down. We'll put it down as a benchmarking trip, Ian. It's got to be we'll go and do a wee podcast and go and have a wee live feed from a swimming pool in Germany or Holland or something.
That would be fantastic, mate. That definitely would be fantastic. But Robin, in these times, it's given people a lot of chance to contact likes of us, and I'll have an interesting one. Yesterday, I had a nice 25-meter pool. I can't remember how many lanes it was, but basically didn't have a flow rate meter, so we're clutching at straws as far as the flow rate, but we kind of gave it a good stab in the dark off the pump and using the pump curve with a loss of 10 on the head. And then it's funny, I said to them, what size are your filters? Oh, the biggie, and I think they're about 2 meters wide. No, that's not good enough, mate. I said, I need to know the width of the filter. I said, if you can, photograph the plate on the filter. If not, you're going to have to get a bit of string and put it round the middle bit, and get the circumference, and I'll be able to work out the diameter. So he took a photo of the filters, and I said, oh, they look like Certican 1400s. And he goes, nah, they're at least 2 meters. So then I got a photo of the plate, and it was like, it's a Certican 1200.
It's a 1200, aye.
And anyway, so what it was quite interesting. We worked out all the flow rates of it and stuff. And they've always been on the impression that it was a medium rate filtration, and it wasn't. It was high rate.
Yeah.
Because how much they're pushing through it. So, but this has given people time to do all these things. And I know a few pools that have taken time to do the dye testing, a few pools that have taken time to do other sort of bits and bobs and maintenance work. But it's taken some time for them to be able to get some of the information that they want done. But what I was really angling at is me and Robin's taking our time to do some stuff. And let me tell you, listeners, this has not been easy getting Robin to come up to the 21st century where he can sort of deliver online and do certain things. Delivery online's all right. He's all right with Zoom and stuff now, but try to get him some other things. So I started a project about last year, and I asked Robin to get involved with me. And it was after I saw something in the market, thinking about pools that had kind of, I'd say, had an explosion. Robin, would you say?
Aye, definitely. Oh, everyone buying hot tubs and spas didn't help. That probably was in the back of the mind.
And it was only, well, I think I sent you a couple of weeks ago, only last week or the weekend before, that one of the big stores in the UK sold out of inflatable hot tubs just like that on a weekend.
Lazy spas.
So we saw an opportunity, so to speak, where lots of people are now getting these lazy spas, as Robin's saying, or these best way pools, or these inflatable type structural pools with a tarp inside them, basically.
Above ground pools, I think is what they would be described as.
Yeah, above ground, cartridge filtration, basic pump, no heating, hand dosed.
Aye, a lot of them come with sand filters now, which is pleasing to see. A little tiny wee.
They're about 30 centimetres tall, though.
Aye, they are. Aye. Listen, they're clicked together, jigsaw style pools. You can buy them out of B&Q, and they're all the rage. Every second person's got one. The last time I flew down to London, coming across the flight path took me over Guildford, Surrey, that neck of the woods. Every second house had a wee blue square in the garden. Yeah. It's obviously the end thing, yeah. So it's a hot topic, so to speak. Definitely.
It is. So, and if anyone's been following any of the, and I don't think anyone will, because most people, I'm guessing, would be listening about commercial pools in this cast, but might be wrong. So we went down the line of saying, well, how can we give these people some education? And we started and stopped, didn't we, last year, a little bit, and it didn't really finish. And then before we knew it, the summer was over and kind of forgot it and stuff. So January this year, I said to Robin, right, we've got to finish that project. We have to finish that project before sort of Easter, because the idea was that, and it was guesswork, people will be putting these pools back up in Easter. That's the thought, isn't it? Well, we're pleased to say we finished it, haven't we?
We did. It was one of those things where it was like, what are you doing this week? And I was, I'm doing this, doing that. What are you doing Thursday? Oh, I'm just in the office. I've not got much planned. Right, well, we'll crack on with this domestic pool training. And I was like, we'll do it. We're just online. We were actually, it was like an 8-hour podcast, wasn't it? We're on Google Meet, and we're doing the work at the same time. And we must have done about maybe 12, 15 hours now, just being online together, just cracking on and doing the work at the same time. So,
it's 12, 15 hours each. So
yeah.
And that's on top of all the time we put into it last year. So, and it was quite good, because we're starting to use new platforms, and I know that a lot of people will be laughing at me and you going, oh, God. But to have it sat in a cloud so we could both work at the same time, and I'm saying to Robin, you do slide 17 and you've missed the bit on the filter, and I'll do the bit on that, and I've missed this and you've missed that, and been able to do it. And the original plan was about 40 slides.
I get carried away. I get carried away when we made diagrams and schematics and all that, and it gave me a wee opportunity to do a bit of sentimental viewing, going back through all my PowerPoints and information that I gained when I was working for Albion Chemicals, and the amount of stuff that I've got, just lovely wee bits and pieces, just images and schematics and layouts and all that sort of stuff from my chemical days. And there was a wee bit it was a bit cathartic, just going through it all, and I was giving it, Ian, have a look, what do you like? Do you like that? Do you like that? What about this? Do you like that? That's
did you have a little tear in your eye?
I was like, oh, look at all that. I forgot I had all that, and I should be digging that out more often, because there's loads of great stuff in there that I've stolen and gained from the years.
Acquired, I think, is the word you're looking for.
Aye, something like that.
So, Robin, do you know how many slides we finished on the end up? Yeah, did you even?
I think, well, I was about 75 or something the last time I seen it.
76.
Yeah, geez. Oh, yeah. I keep coming up with things. You know what? We could put that in, put this in, and I'm thinking, hold on a wee minute here. You'd end up creating something that would be about 4 or 5 hours long, and that's not what people want. You know,
No.
The commercial pulling me, the techie side takes over, and you start putting in too much. You know, this is people that are looking to just run a pool in their back garden safely.
Yes.
You know, safely, and get it clean and get it operating properly and know what each component does. Simple stuff, really simple stuff. But these people have got to be hands-on, get stuck in. So it's really important that they know what they're doing, because it's their family that's the safety of their family that's at stake. So yeah, it was brilliant. It's very impressed, and we've even had a very good colleague of ours, the Jedi, tell us that it's very good. So, hey, that's it. We can retire now.
We had a couple of the colleagues who've looked at the product and tried to pick holes in it and add what they want to be. Interesting. One of them has got one of these little domestic pools in the back garden as well. So, sort of add little comments and things we want to see in it and stuff. So that's very good. And the final point is, the listeners will be pleased to know that if anyone decides to do it, I'm doing the narration, so you won't need the subtitles for Robin's accent.
Listen, that can be remedied, you know.
Do you want the version with subtitles or without subtitles, or do you want the Gaelic version?
No, there'll be my version that comes out that has lots of beeps, you know, beep beep, you know, when it gets to the swear words and that. But no, listen, it'll be fantastic. And you know, these sort of things are worth a fortune. You know, the folk charge like hundreds of pounds for this sort of, you know, quality. But we're going to be pitching at a very affordable level. So we're giving something back to the industry as well. You know, giving people the opportunity to sign up, go through it, and work their way through a wee bit of personal development, helping them run their swimming pool. And it's going to be, you know, for the price of less than a Chinese takeaway.
Yeah, I don't know how much Chinese takeaway you're spending.
I'm talking about for the family. yeah. So yeah, no, it's exciting. It's a big learning curve. This time last year, you and I would have been. Do you know what? We wouldn't have had the time for a start because our diaries were rammed. We wouldn't have had the necessary skills. We probably wouldn't have had the inclination. So listen, some good's come out of the what's happened over the last 12 months, and you know, and it's set to continue. We've got a few irons in the fire here. We've got a few things that we want to develop. Yeah. So long may it continue. And
you know, the interesting thing as well, Robin, is that the pandemic has actually given us a bit of an opportunity, as you say, for free time, but not only free time, because you know, we're using Google Classroom as our platform for this, and you know, if you'd went back before the pandemic and said to parents who were probably going to be, you know, the adults of the home that might be doing this course sort of thing, oh, it's all in Google Classroom, I bet a lot of them would have said, what's that?
Yeah.
And because their children have now got so used to using Google Classroom, it's given us that platform to say, oh, well, hang on a minute, because they'll just click on it and just go, oh, right, Google Classroom, yeah, blah, 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 click, click, click. Oh, and then the funny thing is, they might end up getting their kids to say, how does this work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd never seen any platform for learning on Pool Plant you've been done in Google Classroom. I know it's been a bit of a learning curve for you as well. Yeah. And my sort of stuff, when I started this year ago, I was a bit self-taught. I went to YouTube, watched loads of little YouTube tutorial videos and stuff like how to do it. And I've kind of taught Robin little bits, and he's worked out bits for himself. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it could do that and it could do this. And but yeah, it's really taken off and went forward. And it's what you get for your money in the product, I think, is more than value for money.
Oh yeah, it's great stuff. Listen, and we're going to try and be slick. We're going to try and make it easy. I mean, there's a lot of people have viewed the seminar presentations that we put on for the CPD. so that's pleasing. You know, had you asked us a year ago, would we have online seminars? I would have been like, not a chance. Let alone break the presentations down, put them on a YouTube channel, then allow people, you know, for us to create links through our website to get to it, and so on and so on. That's phenomenal. You know, it's a bit mind bending for me at times because I'm a dinosaur, but starting to adapt and get there, isn't it? That's what it's all about. The last 6 months has been innovative and adapting and trying to help people through these challenging times. And when we come out of it, we'll have all these skills and expertise and knowledge that we can hopefully provide to the listeners and people within the industry, that, you know, and we can use these platforms and forums to deliver that expertise.
I think it's probably today or tomorrow we're going to do the social media launch in it. So it might be really interesting to see. So watch this space and some of the social media things like the Facebook channel and all the rest. And we're going to have another lap because we're going to try and make a little trailer for it as well for YouTube, which could be. I'm
going to have to figure out how to let people access it through the website, but that we'll manage to sort that. I'll sort that out between Friday and Monday or something. Monday I should be able to try and dabble with it over the weekend or something. It's a bit of trial and error and stuff. Just get the kids to be my guinea pigs and sign up for things. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
And I'm expecting that in the next few weeks, mainly for me, for my work, because I've only got now 25 days until outdoor pools start coming online. So
that's right, yeah.
I've got one already booked in for the Saturday, the 27th, for a bit of training before it goes live on the Monday, and they're advertising that they're going to be open for the 29th. So I'm just waiting with bated breath with some of these, trying to switch the pools back on to see what actually happens. Because some of them have not been working well. This particular one I'm going to is fine. They've just left it running.
Yeah.
I think they chilled it a little bit and left it running.
In all honesty, most of my clients didn't close down from the Boxing Day. They've kept their swimming pools ticking over. They've saved energy by turning the temperature down, air handling units down because there's no one in, so they're not having to go with 100% fresh air intake. And yeah, so they've been sensible this time so that they can open up at the first available opportunity. I've
just thought, Rob, you know, we could have asked from yesterday and we didn't see anyone who's done it. And I haven't seen it yet. And I don't think you may have seen it because obviously you worked in the chemical industry more than me. But there's pools that will just use hypochlorous acid straight off the barrel, isn't there?
There is.
I don't know of any in the UK.
No. It was
quite popular.
It's the expense of it. It's expense. It's a hell of expensive. Albeit that if you look at it, there's the salt generation. You know, I suppose the hyperlyzers, the salt generation, that's probably as near as we get to producing the hypochlorous acid directly in our plant rooms, to be fair. Yeah, so, but you're looking at serious drinking water industries and for that kind of carry on. It would be great for us, but there isn't a need because calcium hypochlorite and sodium hypochlorite is so cheap in the swimming pool market and it achieves the job, doesn't it?
Well, Robin, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was doing some work. Oh God, I think it was maybe a year, 18 months ago, and one of the things they were asking me about was lithium hypochlorite.
Lithium hypochlorite.
Lithium hypochlorite, and I was like, never heard of this. And anyway, I spoke to the old Jedi Master, and he said he can remember it just. And lithium hypochlorite. So anyway, I did a bit of research on this. I don't know if you knew this or not. But in the advent of the rechargeable battery in the 70s and 80s, when the lithium battery was invented, the price of lithium shot through the roof. So lithium hypochlorite stopped being used as a form of disinfection in swimming pools because the price went up because of the demand on lithium.
Right.
And I didn't know that. And I've never seen it used in a pool. Never knew it was a disinfectant for our pools, but it was a viable disinfectant once upon a time. But apparently it's far too expensive on the basis that we all use lithium batteries.
Yeah. I seen non-chlorine alternatives mentioned yesterday, albeit just briefly. So, and there are quite a few companies just now doing the rounds, advertising the non-chlorine alternatives. PWTAG do as they always have done. Don't recommend using non-chlorine alternatives as the main disinfectant in the pool. They don't mind you using an additional secondary disinfectant, which is non-chlorine based, but they do recommend having some chlorine in the pool. Now, from a domestic point of view, if it's in your own back garden, you do whatever you want. But if you're going to be allowing other people to use your pool in your back garden, and someone was to get ill, seriously ill, and you weren't using chlorine, then you might feel guilty because you haven't used what is perceived as the best option for killing the bugs. So
I've got a very rich client last year switched to hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
Which is a different type of disinfectant. For anyone who's in the domestic market, usually see it as non-chlorine shock.
Or Sanisil was the kind of one that came in about 10 years ago. Sanisil was a big one. Norwegian, I think it was. Yeah, Sanisil.
So they switched to it, and next thing I know, about a month later, getting really bad phone calls about algae plumes and algae growth, black algae in particular, because it's just not effective against it.
Yeah.
And it was a case of let the hydrogen peroxide levels drop, shock it with chlorine to kill it, scrub it off, get some algaecides and stuff in it. And then reintroduce the hydrogen peroxide, which works as dechlorinator.
Yeah.
To get it out. And it's a case of having to shift to this, basically every once in a while having to shock it by removing the hydrogen peroxide, shock it, and then bring it back in. And it was just a bit of a palaver. And at the time I said, don't change. But the client was convinced because he'd seen a pool while he was away in a hotel in Russia, believe it or not, that was using hydrogen peroxide. I think the product was Barrel Soft.
All right.
Okay. And he was convinced that he loved the feel of the water and thought the water was excellent, and he wanted to change his own pool when he got back.
Yeah, see, the thing is, hydrogen peroxide with silver is a very, very good sterilisation product. Hydrogen peroxide with silver was actually used to treat wounds as well because of the properties of healing and killing bugs and dealing with infection. It's used in drinking water, cooling towers. It's used in flushing, pipe work, and so on. And it's even used in flushing the spas, removing biofilm. But using it as a regular primary disinfectant, there's questions over the efficacy and how the CT time and whether it actually kills the bugs as well as chlorine. So, from you and our perspective, we tend to have to follow the PWTAG guidelines, which is go with chlorine as your primary disinfectant, isn't it?
I've got two pools in particular down here, Robin, which one's interesting. So one's a really big facility, 800-900 people as a bather load, uses sodium hypochlorite, has UV and an LP system.
Okay.
Yeah, and then has silver as well.
So they use that as a secondary disinfection.
Yeah, well, they've got three disinfectants, and really,
really, aye.
Three.
So what's the purpose of is that biofilm, to keep biofilm down?
No, it's basically for where it is and what it is. It's a large water facility in Legoland.
Yes, I know it.
They added the silver in as a belts and braces because they just can't afford. And do you know what? The water quality is fantastic, to be fair, but they just can't afford the fact of people getting ill and there's so many people going through it, and the numbers and sort of stuff. And it's just a belts and braces, to be honest. And then I've got one outdoor pool, which is the one I'm going to, which is quite close to me actually, which uses calcium hypochlorite, but then also uses copper.
Okay.
They have the the copper plates, which they sort of pass electrical charge off to give copper ions into the water.
Ionization or whatever.
And to be fair, they don't have UV. It's a really old outdoor pool from the 1950s, and they had the copper added to it. But because they've got a very low dosage of copper going in it, never ever have an issue with algae. So although it's with another, if you know what I mean, it's not exclusively one. And I understand why they use the copper plates, because it's a lovely outdoor pool. It's exposed to a lot of sunlight, and they never ever use an algaecide. And also they've got that benefit of the copper being in there.
Yeah, listen, there's the monopersulfate, there's loads of additional secondary chemicals that you can use to improve and enhance your water quality by there's some that will help break down the organics and so on. But I think most of them don't take off because people are now of a mindset that they don't want to add. They want to add less chemicals, the least amount of chemicals possible, and that has become a culture, which is the right thing to do. To be fair, when I was selling chemicals many years ago, it was the wrong thing to do, obviously.
Especially Christmas bonus.
I was trying to obviously give people the opportunity to use these chemicals, but and one of the things that's really kind of improved the water quality is the addition of UV. So I think, although a lot of these secondary, they're not even disinfectants. They're biocides. They have lots of different properties and they can enhance the water quality. But because UV has become a bit more accessible, maybe slightly cheaper than it was, and it's very easy to use. It doesn't mess about with pH. It doesn't affect the water balance. And you just stick it in and you pretty much just change the bulb once a year and service it. Job done. That's probably, prevented the need or prevented a lot of these secondary additives from
to my mind, Robin, you really, if we could, and I know this is a pipe dream, you want your pool water to be as close to drinking water as possible, but safe. You know what I mean? With very little chemical in it, nice and clear, all the rest. That's what we want. And it's funny, I was talking to someone yesterday about UV, and I was saying about the ATG wafer system, and all you need is 200 mils of pipe, so 20 centimetre gap of pipe work to slide the unit in. It's only 20 centimetres big. Obviously, you need the stainless.
It's like a wee box, isn't it? It's a wee box now. It's completely different from what it used to be, the big cylindrical style. And it's funny because it's funny you saying that, because the first time I seen it was on a 50-metre pool. And I'd done a 3-day course the previous week in like a 25-metre by 12.5-metre pool with a big UV system. And then the following week I was in a 50-metre pool, and I was like, that UV system's a third of the size of the one I seen last week for half the water.
For twice the water.
For twice the water. And I couldn't believe it. It's lovely wee system, Lovely wee system. You're right. Spot on with that. Yeah.
Well, funny because I referred a client, obviously with lockdown stuff, I referred someone last year who said to me, I want some UV in, and they said, do you have any good companies? And I said, here's 3 companies, try them, play them against each other, all the rest of it. One of them emailed me last week and said, Ian, thanks for the referral. We've done the job. And he sent me the finished photos of the before and after.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it was a great little system. But do you know what, Robin? Here's the funny part, right? So it's a great system, medium rate filtration, put in by an old pool plant company. I can't remember their name, but they've retired now in their 70s. Well over-engineered. It was fantastic, but they ran out of money, the client. So he ran out of money, and there was 2 things that they stripped back on. They stripped back on not having automatic dosing, so he does it by hand, and UV, right? and he's had a pot of money come about, but you can only get one or the other. And I said to him, get automatic dosing.
Big time.
Because then you can walk away. You're not constantly going back and forward, test. No, I want UV. So he's actually, and don't get me wrong, UV is a great install and all the rest of it, but he's put UV into the system and not put the automatic dosing in yet. And I just think it's the wrong way around, because if anything, he's going to be doing more testing now because the UV is knocking out the chlorine, and he's going to hand dose it back up. And the problem is he'll be hand dosing into the pool. Yeah. Or the balance tank or the deck channels, because you won't have access to be able to do it after the UV system.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one, but hopefully be able to get some money, because I don't know about you, mate, but leisure, they're all looking at these Bounceback loans now, these Bounceback grants.
Yeah.
Announced for us £18,000 potentially for leisure venues.
That's right, yeah. Is it Bounceback? I thought it was a grant, but it's maybe a Bounceback.
No, it might be a grant, but I know that there's been a lot of excitement from some of the small swim school owners.
Yeah.
I did see some chat from Zoe and Shirley that we had on 3-4 weeks ago, or 3-4 episodes ago. And I know that I've got some work with Billy 2 days. I'm going to do the service in her pool 2 days before the 12th. On the Saturday, we're going to do the service in that. So that's good news. And hopefully all those, all informally of that particular show will be up and running, as well as many others.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get the girls back on at some point soon.
Yeah, they want to know about compliance, don't they? They're going to probably hammer us on compliance. Yeah,
so they'll be back on. We've got Jenny Norval coming on. I can commit to saying that. She has confirmed she's coming on. Hopefully with Joe Talbot from the RLSS in tow. So that should be a good one. And Simon Whittingham is committed to coming on. He did say that in public yesterday. So we will remind him of that. So
he plugged Kate from Merthyr as well at the same time, didn't he?
He did, aye. So
Kate, I'm not going on it without you, sort of thing, wasn't it? So that was an interesting one. But I'm trying to think some of the others that we've had potentially coming. Oh, we had some cancellations that we've got to reschedule. So won't say anything on that just yet in case they don't come off.
Yeah. So listen, if there's anyone out there that, do you know what? If people want to hear a particular interview or someone to come on,
be careful, they'll say Boris.
Someone that's relevant, someone that's truthful. No, anyone from the industry would be helpful, and we're open to suggestions. So, guys, I know we don't have a Twitter feed or an Instagram handle or anything like that just now, which is probably something that we should look at. But follow Swimming Pool Network on the Facebook page, and when we put this podcast out, or when Ian does it, because he's a technical dude, when he puts it out probably tomorrow, just put maybe some suggestions in there, or you can direct messages if you want, but you can put some suggestions in the feed of who you may wish to come on to the podcast. Yeah, and we might even invite you might tell you who's coming on and field some questions.
That's a thought.
Yeah, that's just off the top of our head stuff, So we'll advertise who's coming on, and we'll say, right, the 10 best or 5 best questions we will ask. And
Robin, I know you've done this. So you did the podcast with Rob McLaughlin, Views from the Pool.
Yes.
So people can tune into that with Robin.
Yeah.
I recorded mine a few weeks ago.
Good.
So I don't know when it's coming on, because I know he likes to pre-record them in advance. Does Rob, because he's great with the sound and the editing and stuff, unlike me and Robin.
He's well, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the sound from myself on the podcast and YouTube channel has improved greatly, and that's pretty much down to me buying Robin's gear second hand. So yes, he's a good guy to know. It was good having him on the podcast, and he's now returned that by grabbing us too and putting us on the podcast. I have to say, I am the second highest. I have the second highest listens of anyone on Robin McLaughlin's podcast.
How many on?
So far.
How many
yes,
on?
I don't know. He just told me I'm the second highest. So you'll need to. You'll need to spread word and put it. You put it out on every outlet. You have it on the 9 o'clock news. Ian Ogilvy's on Robin McLaughlin's News from the Pool podcast.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at mine. There'll be quite a few things you'll learn about me that you didn't know.
Good.
But it takes quite a change of direction, my one.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I know that was Robin's podcast is a good listen, that is it's different. It is completely different. It delves into your past, and he just wants. How do you qualify for a podcast? You've had to have been a lifeguard at some point. That's it. You have to have, because he's had pilots and everything on it. But they were a lifeguard at some point in their life, so they qualify for his podcast. So that's enough promoting the Robins. So we'll stick to ours at the moment. Yeah. So, and so we've garbled on for about 45 minutes so far. So
let's call it a day for this week, shall we?
Aye. So next week we have a guest. And it'll be next Thursday. We're a bit sorry about being erratic with when we post the podcast. It's pretty much down to when we have time and availability and scheduling. I know some people religiously put their podcasts out every Tuesday or every Thursday or whatever. So sometimes we'll do 2 in a week. Sometimes we'll do 1 in 2 weeks. So, but we'll try to get to some sort of routine.
Yes.
We might even try and make this like a Friday, or I don't know, a Thursday, and release it on a Friday when I don't know when most people would listen or watch. But like I say, we're open to suggestions, so fire anything in.
Perfect. Robin, let's say goodbye this week.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Ian. Take it easy.
You too. Thanks for listening, guys.
And go on to Test All Water, guys, using the Poolcast registration form. Get yourself a wee discount.